Aloha, friends. It's Peter Dunn, Pete the Planner, returning back here on the Pete the Planner show after a sabbatical. I know, Kristen, every time I go on vacation, it actually feels like a sabbatical and not a vacation because I don't like going on vacation. Hi.
What is the true definition? I thought a sabbatical had to be like a certain number of weeks long.
It felt like I was gone for a year.
Okay, fair enough.
Kristen, I was in, I think the 50th state, maybe the 49th state, which was I was in Hawaii.
Isn't Hawaii 49 and Alaska's 50?
Sure.
I don't know.
I learned some things. First off, it was amazing. It was great.
Okay.
Second of all, the trip back to East Coast time, that's a rough one.
Indeed. You said you learned some things. You've been to Hawaii before.
But on a business trip. It was 72 hours. So I didn't
That's very different.
Whatever. I didn't experience the culture. Dame joins us on the show now as he have technical difficulties. Now, what we're going to find out when he speaks now with the mic the mic's away from his face. So that means he's speaking into his computer. His sound is going to be hot garbage. We welcome now the garbage man himself, Damian Dunn. Hello, Dame.
I hate everyone.
Oh my gosh, he is in a cave. Happy Friday, Andy. Dame, I just said I was in Hawaii. You know this. I learned two things I want to share with you all. Number one, there are not only wild goats that are just all over the place, but I encountered a beware wild donkey crossing sign. Kristen, there are wild donkeys on the Big Island.
Yeah.
You know this?
Well, there aren't predators, right? Isn't that the problem? Like, that's why there are lots of like dogs, donkeys, cats. Like, there are not enough natural predators, or is that incorrect?
I had not heard that, but that tracks. I don't think there are any predators. Apparently, the predators are the wrong type of sunscreen that'll kill the coral reef, because that was a big deal when I was there. But yeah, wild donkeys, which was delightful. I saw the wild donkey sign, and the backdrop to the wild donkey sign was an entire full brightest rainbow I've ever seen in my life. So
two things.
Yes.
Did you see a wild donkey?
No. Saw lots of wild goats.
In all of my time in Arizona, I only saw two wild donkeys, and there are wild. Yeah.
There's wild donkeys there?
Yeah, there's donkey crossings like when you get into the desert in Arizona. But two, you really missed an opportunity to save yourself some money there.
I was thinking that too. I was going to ship a donkey back in my carry-on for you. Dame, you are as Midwest as, I am. And there are certain things you do. So Dame, let's say you're at a four-way stop and someone waves you through, or you're in a merge situation and someone lets you in. As a good Midwesterner, what do you do, Dame? Yeah, there it is. For those, for those not on video, you just give a little hand, a little move to the Holy Spirit, just a little up, and that's what you do. Well, in Hawaii, that is not what you do. And so the first time I got waved in, I hit someone like this, and hit him with the Midwest. And then I let someone in, and they hit me with the shaka. So they hit me with the shaka, which if you don't know is like your thumb and your pinky only, and you kind of just shake the shaka. And so then I started doing that, and my kids are like, "Stop! You're embarrassing us." So I get back to the Midwest earlier this week. I'm at a four-way stop. Someone waves me through. I give them the shaka.
Stop.
And the person thought I gave them the finger. And so they're in the back. They're like behind me getting upset because they apparently thought the shaka was, another piece of sign language. And so that's what I've learned this week.
I hate four-way stops for that very reason. Don't wave me on. There's a right of way. I will go when it's my turn. You go when it's your turn.
Andy brings up a great point. There's so many roundabouts where I live that it's before we stop, it's sort of gone the way of the typewriter. Dame, you look sad, buddy.
I'm so frustrated right now.
I can tell. Get over it. Can we do some cleansing breaths?
I got some cleansing bourbon in that barrel over there beside me. I might do some of that.
Kristen, are you doing like breathing lessons and stuff? Maybe 5 minutes and 21 seconds. There it is. It wasn't Dame's mic. We're going to figure it out one day. Kristen, are you doing like breathing lessons?
No.
Whoa, there's some skepticism with that. No.
I mean, not yet. I mean, next week we're third trimester, and then that's probably when I should start getting serious.
Jeez, definitely by the fifth trimester, you should do something. Dame, so we're talking about the one big beautiful bill today on the show, and we're talking about how it impacts people's financial lives. One big beautiful bill.
Yes.
So naturally, I named the episode "You Down with OBBB?"
Yeah.
And I shared this with Kristen in the pre-show, and she gave me the look you would expect for her to give me.
Yeah.
Which is, how do we even begin to explain the joke there? Hello, Jason Brown.
I don't know if there's an HR appropriate way to explain the joke.
Oh, Kristen, have you heard of the hip hop supergroup Naughty by Nature?
Probably not.
Oh, God.
Okay. In my defense, I'm really bad with like band and artist names. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't be familiar if you sent me a link to a music video not on your work email, because it sounds like maybe that would not be the right thing to do.
Well, I mean, the cleanest way to go through this is OPP is, are you down with OPP? Yeah, you know me. You down with OPP? Yeah, you don't, this isn't registering. Your face hasn't changed.
No.
Really thought you were going to go with OPP. How can I explain it?
I take it frame by frame it.
Yeah.
So it stands for other people's property, but it's nuanced beyond that.
Oh boy.
It's not like a theft ring or any sort of fencing operation. It's more explicit in nature. So we'll just leave it there. Anyway, the episode is "You Down with OBBB?" And Andy says, "Yeah, you know me," because she knows what's going on. And we also have a new sponsor on the show this week that we will share in the mid roll after. Oh no! Oh no! So after the second segment, we'll introduce you to what I was so excited about 2 weeks ago when we were last here. Sort of fun. So
speaking of the principal's office,
goodbye.
Yeah.
Anything else? So we've been off a week or two. People thought we were dead. I don't think that's a thing. Kristen, you're anything going on with you that you want to put out there for anybody?
I mean, no, still just cooking a kid.
Yeah. Well, jeez. Dame?
Nope. Nothing.
Dame, you like to have lots of like good American dad moments with your kids where you're just doing some real dadding, right? I mean, you like love these moments.
Yes.
So young Theodore goes to soccer camp, this away soccer camp. Last night was his first night away. And before he left, take him to my office at home. My kids know if I call you into my office at home, you're not in trouble, but we need to have a talk. Nope. Call him in. Have a seat, pal. Hey, look, this week we want to work on humility, some leadership, making an impact, mainly humility. So then I send him a text when he's on the way there, and I'm like, I just put humility. So last night, they had their first scrimmage or whatever, and he texts Mrs. Planner 3 words: cooked those fools. And I was like, man, that dad talk did not work. And I texted him, I was like, humility. And he put, oh, sorry, bro. I was like, okay, I am a pointless entity in that relationship.
Okay. I mean, as long as he didn't say that to the other kids, right?
He wouldn't have, no. But I mean, yeah. I appreciate the confidence. It's good to feel good, as they say.
Of course.
Oh, Lord. In what I can only explain is an ever-expanding obsession of nutrition at this point in my life, I've added a new player to the stack, if you will. And I always feel like it's worth mentioning here on the show. Kristen's excited about this, less excited about Naughty by Nature.
Indeed.
Lion's mane. I've added lion's mane. Oh my gosh. Kristen's eyes just rolled all the way out of her head. Are you okay?
No. no.
She's not okay. Dame, do you need help here?
I'm not. I mean, I've heard of it. I don't know exactly what it's used for, so I'm hoping you'll fill it in.
Okay, well, it's nothing like illicit, but Kristen is upset. Kristen, go ahead, have at it. I bring it up, so if you wanted to take shots at me, you can.
I mean, is there any actual research that supports that this is a beneficial supplement?
Yes. In
By
fact, there is.
who? The people who harvest it?
Do your research. There's another thing I take that there is not a lot of research, and it's like it's not going to hurt you, but there's not a lot of clinical research to suggest it helps. This one,
vinegar.
no, this one they're like absolutely a ton of research. Focus, clarity, cognitive function. But Kristen, here's the thing: freaking old.
You?
Yes, I'm an older person.
Mm-hmm.
Very old.
I thought you were going to tell me that you were like, honestly, the level that you're at, I kind of am waiting for the day that you get like a continuous glucose monitor so that you can like see what your blood sugar does before and after workouts and meals. Like really, that's kind of the level I thought we were at.
You know, Dame, here's the thing that really interests me. What doesn't interest me is the patch on my tricep and poking my ish. I don't want to get poked. Like I'm still a ninny, you know?
Yeah, but you wear them for like weeks, right? You can be brave like every month.
No, have we met? No, I can't. Okay, let's do this show. Dave, anything else before we do this thing?
Feels like wearing a glucose monitor for health-related reasons like Pete would almost be like a version of stolen valor.
Like the valor of diabetes.
You're just getting you're just like doing it for attention now at this point. Oh no, it's just for health reasons.
One of the reasons I wouldn't want to do it is because I wouldn't want people to see it to gather that attention. So it is not stolen valor. Although I did wear fashion camo pants yesterday.
Just when we discuss it on the radio.
In 3, 2, 1. This week on the Pete the Planner Show, we answer your money questions. Here's how the show works. You email us at askpete@petetheplanner.com. That's askpete@petetheplanner.com. And we will make things easier to understand. If not, just make you feel smarter because we don't know what we're talking about. Speaking of we, I bring to you 2 certified financial planning practitioner. One by the name of Kristen Elanius and the other by the name of Damian Dunn. Kristen, you took issue with how I introduced you there?
Well, a little, because you talked about how we might not be totally qualified yet to be talking about what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And then you led with our most prestigious designations that we both hold. So I really appreciate that.
Well, it was the collective royal we, if you will, Dame. I don't know what I'm talking about, but that's why I employ the two of you to shoot me straight with great audio quality. How are you today, Dame?
I'm doing great, Pete. Folks, I'm having some audio issues today, so I'm talking through just a normal computer.
Well, we're not going to bring it up.
Yeah,
we're not going to bring it up. That way you won't even notice.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
I love you. Okay, so here's what we're doing on the show today. I don't know if you've opened your daily newspaper, but the government has passed a new act, a new bill. It is called One Big Beautiful Bill, and it's an omnibus style bill. There's a lot going on, and there's a big impact on our finances, and by our I mean your. So we're just going to spend the episode talking about the personal finance ramifications of this one big beautiful bill. What a great name. Kristen, there are a lot of things in this bill that are exciting to people and or upsetting to people. Mm-hmm. But we're going to do our best to limit our discussion today to personal finance. Okay? Is that fair?
More than fair. And I would also add to that there are provisions within that could dramatically impact the lives of people in your community, yourself, people in your circle. But what's most important is that we understand when these changes take effect, who they actually affect, and what you need to do to be in compliance or to put your best foot forward when it comes to your personal financial health. And that's the lens that we're looking through all of this today.
There is one group of things we're not going to talk a lot about today, but I do want to mention it because its omission would be glaring. Is there's going to be a lot of a loss of SNAP benefits and Medicaid funding for millions of people. Money that goes towards childhood hunger. And by the fact that we're not talking a lot about it in this personal finance episode, I don't want you to think, at least personally, I don't want you to think that I'm ignoring it. It's just we're talking about personal finance beyond that. So it's with that. Let's start with taxes. Okay, so let's start with taxes. And so we bring in our tax expert by relation, Damian Dunn. Dame, what do people need to know from a tax perspective about the OBBB?
If you throw on the A, then it could be like OBA. It could be a great little. Anyway, taxes really aren't going to change as far as what we think when we hit our personal checks at the end of the week. A lot of stuff stays the same. We're looking at the same tax brackets we've had for a number of years at this point. Pete, I put them in the show prep doc. There are 7 tax brackets. If I hadn't put them in there, do you think you could have got all of them?
No, I could have gotten, I'm looking at them now. I could have gotten the bottom 2 and the top 2, but I would not have known the middle 3.
Now, for those of you listening along, it's 10%, 12, 22, 24, 32, 35, and 37%. Frankly, I think that's a little bit of overkill. I don't necessarily agree with having things cut up quite so much, but that's neither here nor there. So paychecks, largely unaffected by this, especially when we think about the standard deduction. Hasn't changed at all. It's been extended. Actually, it's been made permanent, by the way. When we talk about made permanent, when it comes to things like this, it simply means they aren't going to sunset in a predetermined year. They are all subject to change based on a future Congress's law at this point. So this is the way things are until they are changed in the future.
I know we're not here to talk about the tax brackets, but Kristen, you know what's always struck me is the difference between bracket 2 and bracket 3 is a 10% difference. That's a pretty big deal if you look at the other gaps involved here. But the strange part is if you're on the cusp of either of those brackets, there's generally not a lot of tax planning that a person does to try to stay at the 12% level, right?
No, definitely not. And I was just thinking that too, because I was looking at the jump from 24 to 32 and I was like, ooh.
Yeah, that one's a jump.
That one hurts a little bit. And Dame, I don't think I caught this, but the reason this is a big deal, right, is because previously these brackets were to sunset. And I don't remember, was it this year or next year?
It was soon. I don't remember the year exactly, but you're right. They were going to sunset. They were going to revert back to what they were prior to the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. I don't remember what year that was passed either at this point. But 17. Thank you. So we were going to have some pretty big shakeups with how things were done. The standard deduction was going to change. And there's a few other things that I know we're going to talk about in this segment, but it would have been a pretty significant upheaval in our tax situation.
I have a question.
Oh, the hand was up. I didn't know if you were swearing in for a trial. What do you have?
No, I have a question. As an honorary tax expert, Damian, do you think that this change, is exciting for tax preparers because they don't have to make changes? Like if I'm working in an accountant's office or a CPA's office, or am I excited because I'm like, well, I don't have to make any changes and I don't have to educate my clients on this?
No, I don't think it's great that they'll have some continuity in this area, but there are a few other changes that were made in this law. I think there's a chance the 1040 looks different this year, and there may be even an additional form that comes along with it.
Oh, no.
So no major impact for most people. The child tax credit did get a bit of a bump, but Dame, this is where this thing gets really nuanced, and there was a lot of debate over the SALT cap expansion.
Yeah.
I am myself trying to cut back on sodium, but help us understand the SALT. What is it here?
State and local taxes, and prior to Tax Cut and Jobs Act, it was uncapped, and you could take the amount of taxes that you were paying for state and local and deduct those against federal taxes at that point. That came through with Tax Cuts and Jobs and got a huge reduction. It was capped at $10,000. So as they were preparing this bill, they thought, well, maybe we'll just go back to the uncapped version. And that didn't quite get through Congress. So they've got it set at $40,000 instead of 10. However, that phases out as well. Now, while we're talking about people who are going to be happy about it, New Jersey, New York, California, the income it starts to phase out at for married filing jointly, I think is around $500,000, which seems like a lot for a lot of people. But if you're in high income areas where this deduction would have really paid off, you might end up getting phased back to $10,000.
So again, this bill, big deal, a lot of news, a lot of headlines. From a tax perspective, I'm not going to call it a nothing burger, but I'm going to say, as far as this, status quo goes, not a massive change as to what we've been dealing with. Would you agree with that, Dame?
100%.
Now, Kristen, as we get into the next segment where we get into some major plot twists, I think we'll start that next segment is the planning around these changes is how you prevent yourself from getting shocked and scared and hurt. And so we'll do all of that next right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner.
I'm surprised Texas wasn't on that list.
It could be. Those were just the ones that they listed. No big deal. But
I'm saying that, like, collectively, I haven't really seen much mention, but their property taxes are so high.
Yeah.
And their state because of the no state income tax. So I'm just, maybe it's a wash. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dame, without going down too far down the path of did you like this big, beautiful bill or didn't like this big, beautiful bill, my question is to you, I'm trying to frame this because I don't want to turn into like a whole other thing. My personal feelings are that the personal finance implications of this bill on the surface, the direct as opposed to the indirect personal finance, are marginal at best.
I think it's going to feel completely different for certain groups of people. While we're looking at the core, like that last segment, I agree. I think it's going to be really, really minimal. But as we start to talk about the next segment, and it's hard for me to separate, the college loan stuff from somebody's personal finances and how they view everything through that lens, because that's a huge issue for those groups, especially if you're looking at sending kids to college and now how you thought you were going to send them to school, it just got taken out from underneath you. It's really challenging. I don't even know if I can say it's not a big deal, even though I think a lot of the changes that happened don't amount to much. The ones that do are significant enough that I think it's a really, really big issue. Yeah. You start to get into, Kristen, this idea of financially who really benefits and who really suffers. Because, and by the way, there's a lot of people that neither of that is the case. You're just sort of in the middle. My initial read of this is that the people who benefit marginally benefit, and the people who suffer really suffer. And I without projecting, that's how I interpret it. I'm curious if you're willing to share how you think about that.
I would probably agree with that. I'm thinking specifically of the Medicaid and the student loan changes. If you're someone who is going to be impacted by those changes, you're probably feeling a lot of anxiety about those two changes in particular. But for a lot of, using air quotes here, like the average household, the people that we're working with daily in our work, not a whole lot is changing with this.
Yeah, Dame, I have this feeling that the biggest shock is going to be what we're about to talk about, which is the student loan changes. Like, people are a little bit asleep at the wheel. The last 2 or 3 years of student loan media has people just throwing their arms up, going, whatever. But this isn't a whatever. This is a thing.
Oh, yeah. This is very real. Will have very serious implications to the college landscape, I believe, going forward. I look at the reaction this legislation is getting specifically around the college portion of it. And I think, man, if this is what happens to college, what's the appetite ever going to be to make the changes that are required to Social Security, something like Social Security and its funding going forward? Because I just don't see a politician standing in that gap and saying, this is the fight we need to have.
Unless they're willing to be a one-termer.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying.
All right. So we will have this discussion on the air in just a moment. Before we do, though, this portion of the program is brought to you by Herculean Meal Prep. That's right. Honestly, my favorite thing in my life right now, Herculean offers frozen meals. They are not refrigerated. These things do not spoil. As I have mentioned off the cuff in the past, they last in your freezer for a year. You can buy them in store like I do. You can order online and pick them up in store like I did this week, or you can order online and ship them to your door. I even encourage you, when you order online or you do it in person, tell them that Pete sent you, because apparently you've already been doing this. And that's why we're talking about this right now. New flavor came out this week. Dame, Italian beef burger bowl. Had it yesterday for lunch. And let me tell you, my friend, life-changing. I love an Italian beef sandwich, but I don't love the idea that if I actually looked at the macros, which I refuse to do, it would be terrible. Well, this one was not terrible. Here's what I look for in a lunch choice very quickly. Number one, convenient. Got to be convenient. Busy person. Number two, I don't want it to break the bank. Okay. Number three, I want it to be delicious. And number four, I want it to be nutritious. And so the challenge for me is always, I can't get 2 out of the 4 there. I just can't. I can't even find 2. Herculean Meal Prep will get you 4 out of 4 of those things. So go to HerculeanMealPrep.com today. Tell them Pete the Planner sent you. And so with that,
or Kristen, or Dame. Oh, come on.
Yeah. Go in there and tell them that Kristen sent you.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Okay. Back to the show in 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner show, talking what the I'm counting. Hold on. Stand by. OBBB means for you. I think I'm supposed to add the A after the third B. It's alphabet soup. But what does it mean for you from a direct personal finance standpoint? What we established in the last segment with my friends Kristen and Dame is that for most people, there is a marginal, if any, tax implication impact. Status quo for most. Mm-hmm. But now on to a category where there is no status quo. It is quite the impact, and we're on to student loans. Kristen, you are the student loan czar at your money line and, well, globally. What do people need to know? And I guess maybe a better question is, what are you afraid that people don't know?
Let's start with the latter.
Okay.
I am afraid that the last 5 years, how long has it been since the start of COVID?
5 years.
5 years. I have this fear as an expert in this space that the last 5 years of noise in the student loan space, payment, we're not going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay. Psych, you don't have to pay. Changes in repayment plans, forgiveness, there won't be forgiveness, has made the average borrower, which I think there are like 44 million unique federal student loan borrowers in the US. I think it's made the average borrower numb to the student loan news cycle. And that is my biggest fear with these changes.
I agree, Dame. I think it's the boy who cried wolf with student loans. It's like forgiven, not forgiven, forgiven, not forgiven, going away. No one can borrow, default. We're collecting, and now this is real. And not that the collections aren't real, but these are some pretty big changes. And the weird part about a 5-year gap in this, an entire class of college students has matriculated all the way through and graduated. Now you have people who are entering college who were in middle school when all this hullabaloo began. And so their parents who were helping fund and make these decisions, trust me, with 2 people on the show that have 13-year-olds, your brain is not there from a college perspective, Dame. That's what scares me.
We talk to people every day who I just feel like have, for lack of a better term, tuned out to what is going on in the college loan space because they've been rug pulled, or they feel like they've been rug pulled multiple times. They didn't really understand what was going on in the first place, or some of the programs they were trying to apply to. And it's hard for me to blame them because this has been an overcomplicated space for a long, long time. And now this is yet one more change, or some very serious, significant changes. And they probably look at them with some additional skepticism and okay, this is what you're telling me today. What's it going to be in 6 months?
So, Kristen, I know we want to talk about repayment and stuff, but we are talking planning for new students right now. So let's start with borrowing limits if we can. Mm-hmm. Typically, a parent, if they find themselves unprepared, hit you with don't worry, we'll figure it out. And that we'll figure it out is a reach into a never-ending bucket of loans. That's change. Kristen, there are caps. What are we dealing with?
There will be caps, and you're exactly right. And if you are not someone who has a lot of exposure to this space, Dame and I can attest that we work with parents who have hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans for their children. And in the work that we do every day, the largest balances of student loans we see tend to be the 50 to 60-year-olds. So this is a really, really big problem. And there will be caps for Parent Plus loans. So Parent Plus loans will cap at $20,000 a year with a $65,000 overall limit, which is a huge change from the unlimited nature of these programs, or this program that we've seen in the past.
And we've said it on the show in the past. Former Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, had over $100,000 of Parent Plus loans. Martin O'Malley, former governor of Maryland, I believe, had over $330,000. And so, Kristen, on some level, when people hear that, they think, oh, that's terrible. I'm so glad these caps are here so that doesn't happen to hardworking middle-aged people. But it ain't that simple, because there's a massive funding gap now between how someone can enroll in college, get accepted, and then how in the world they pay for it, because their parents used to be able to help with debt, and they themselves are now capped with what they can borrow.
Yeah, it's more important than ever. I mean, we would have argued that it's always been really important, but it is more important than ever to ensure that there isn't a funding gap, and university choice financial aid packages are more important than they've ever been. Because if you're not in tune with this space, my biggest fear is we choose as a family, as a household, a 4-year institution. And then after year 2, we're out of student loans and didn't realize that was going to happen. And now what do? Do we force our child to go to a different university to finish out their degree because there is a funding gap? Do we take on private loans to bridge that gap? And that's where I fear that there will be, how do I say this tactfully? Players in this space who are ready to take advantage of the funding gap.
You mean when there's a hurricane, people show up and do unsavory things? Is that what you're telling me? There's not let me choose my words. There's not a super direct impact for undergrad borrowing other than fewer people will qualify for Pell Grants. Really, right, Kristen? This is more about graduate student borrowing and parents borrowing for undergrad.
Yes, but because there are annual aggregate limits for undergraduate loans, and that's usually where Parent Plus comes in to fill that gap. But the grad program is seeing a big change as well, because there will be caps for, there used to be a grad program that essentially let you borrow up to the cost of attendance, just like Parent Plus loans. And now those loans will be capped at $20,500 a year with a $100,000 lifetime cap. And so if you're someone who is pursuing additional education, you could have a funding gap there as well.
Dame, what's interesting to me, and I read this early on when I read some analysis of the OBBB, is that this could impact the number of people that go on to become physicians, because with a postgraduate degree, if you're capped at $100,000 on grad school loans, that ain't going to do it. Right, Kristen? Am I missing something?
You're not, but I do want to I did not say this was not made clear. Certain professional programs have a slightly higher cap. So law school, medical school, up to $50,000 a year. But if you're someone who's looked at like law school tuition, $60,000 is not an uncommon amount for a cost of attendance for a law school. So, I mean, you're talking about, at especially your top tier programs, a funding gap out of the gate. But you're not wrong in that by and large, we're seeing more than $200,000 borrowed for things like medical school, law school, etc.
Yeah, I think schools are going to have to get really competitive with how they package offers to potential students, and potentially start to reduce the cost of overall tuition, because there's already going to be an enrollment cliff, and so fewer people to take advantage of these offers anyway. So higher institutions are in for some serious hand-wringing in the future.
Okay, so a couple things here. We have a lot more meat on this bone as it relates to student loans and education funding, so we're going to go into the next segment on that. And I guess here's why I want to start with that. It's where Dame just said. I've read two different analyses of this bill. One says this is going to cause the cost of college to rise, and the other one said it's going to cause the cost of college to fall. I'm going to be honest, like many things right now, I don't know what to believe. So we will debate that when we come back, right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. I just heard a beautiful bird noise.
Indeed.
Dave.
I didn't.
What?
What is going on? Are you in the bizarro world?
Maybe. I yes. Let's just go with yes.
How was my I felt pretty good about that Herculean meal prep read. You know, sometimes I butcher when I get excited, but that was pretty good.
I thought that was awesome.
I thought it was great. I was wanting to jump in and say that, you know, when I was last in the office, you had one for lunch and showed it to me, and it looked delicious. You did not offer to share it with me.
No, I haven't.
But it looked great.
I've kind of offered a couple people one, but in such a passive aggressive way that if they would have said yes, it would have been brutal. Oh, that's nice, Trenton. Long-time listener, first-time commenter. Appreciate all the work you guys do. Well, you're clearly talking to these two. Steak and eggs today is what I'm having. Steak and eggs.
We had steak for lunch yesterday that we marinated for a little while, and
steak for lunch. Jeez.
I think I've just decided I'm going to just join the carnivore diet. It was that good yesterday.
Dame in that 37% tax bracket. Fillets for lunch. Put it on the tab. Okay. You guys ready to do this? 3, 2, 1. Back on the Pete the Planner Show, talking about the impact of the OBBB on your personal finances, and where we have landed right now is varying commentary around, will this increase the cost of college based on the new borrowing provisions, or will it somehow decrease the cost of college? And now I'm going to debate it with two really smart people who are smarter than me, and they'll likely agree, and I'll be on the other side, and then I'll get my feelings. So I guess we'll start with Kristen. Kristen, does this increase the cost of college, or does it decrease the cost of college?
See, I feel like there's going to be a start gap in the type of college and what it's going to do. My opinion, just based on how this has, like, other provisions have worked, is that schools that are academically and financially competitive, like, I don't know if you saw this, but Purdue's ranked once again in the top 10 of all public universities.
Yeah.
I think that universities like that become more financially competitive, and they have to figure out how to continue to recruit and retain top academic talent. And I think universities that have been on the cusp of those accolades will struggle. And as a result, it will actually become more expensive to attend those institutions, is my hypothesis.
Dame, I kind of buy that. Where are you at?
Sure. Yeah, I think that makes complete sense. But I think as the number of students, potential students, decreases over the number of years, and funding is harder and harder to get a hold of, schools, I think, in my opinion, are going to have to make some really tough decisions on what programs they offer, how much space they occupy or keep open and maintained for use on campuses, maybe the number of campuses that are open as well. I think there's going to be some serious cost reductions that are going to happen at some of these schools to keep the doors open and remain available for students in the future.
Two thoughts here. Does this mean schools, especially state schools, will then go for out-of-state students from wealthier areas? I mean, that seems feasible.
Sure, but there's a smaller number of those students that are going to have to be competitive for, and potentially offer them breaks to get them to come to those schools as well.
See,
Eric? Go ahead.
That's why I think that gap exists, is because those universities that are more competitive, they're going to say, well, they will come. And I also think it totally depends on how much private aid is made available, because if private players come in and fund these gaps, and we see that, private banks can come in and basically fund these gaps, does anything really change? Because what we've seen in the past is borrowers will just borrow the money for the college education and worry about it on the back end. And that's not criticism. That's just the truth. So it depends on what dollars are available.
I think the underwriting gets really tough in the private space for those loan approvals. Yes. Banks are not going to sign up for loans they don't think are going to get repaid.
Because if you think of the number of people in default on student loans right now,
right,
it's a situation in which the underwriting interest rates would be so high, and then the cap on what they're willing to let someone borrow is going to be so low that I don't think it fills the gap. Which gets to my second question. By the way, Eric makes a point in the comments: is you're going to see more people going, he's getting their start at community college or the Compass Direction named state school, the old IU Northwest or Purdue South Central or whatever. Does this make higher ed less accessible for the people? I mean, is that I mean, whether it's a fair question or not, I guess it's based on the answer, but do you feel like there's less accessibility to education now?
In a traditional classroom setting, arguably, yeah. I think there are some real potential outcomes where there just aren't as many seats, but if the dollars are there, then those opportunities will remain available. So it may make it really more difficult to get into the school of your choice too, because it'll be more competitive in that area.
Kristen, and we're going to talk repayment next, the massive repayment overhaul. And when we were talking about student loans going into collections and that are in default and the government going to recoup those, a conversation we had about a month ago, I remember all of us saying, man, that's going to be really hard, but yeah, it kind of makes sense, right? It's sort of like, well, yeah, I owe that, and you got to start collecting on it. And it doesn't mean we don't feel bad for those people in that situation, but it is a reality. I somewhat feel that way about these caps on education. It's like, okay, you're going to have to make some harder decisions, and it's going to prevent middle-aged people from having massive debts that ruin their retirement. I don't think we can be so convenient and say, this is good or this is bad. It's pretty nuanced.
It is. And I would say maybe if I'm trying to paint with like a broad stroke brush, What do I want to say?
I think, I don't paint with broad. Go ahead.
Whatever. If I'm trying to be very general, I think that the person in this space that it gets the most difficult for is like the average student whose parent is making, an average income, whose grades are average, because they are not the most competitive student. They're not receiving the most competitive financial aid packages, and they may have to make harder decisions than their counterparts who maybe have more opportunities for financial aid awards and or who are more academically gifted or talented.
I think before we go into repayment, which I keep threatening, I think it changes the culture of higher ed. I think that person that I'm going to use terms that are going to offend somebody, that parks themselves in education until they figure out what they want to do, which, by the way, is sort of a lot of people, but a lot of people are spending a lot of money to buy a lot of time. I think that's where the culture shifts. The person will either go right into the workforce, or to Eric's point on our live stream, are you going to go into a community college? You're going to see a cultural decision change. And that's good.
I don't know if it's good or bad, but I buy it.
Kristen, before we go to a fourth segment where I say, let's talk about repayment plan overhaul. Okay, so paying back these student loans, once you take it on, whatever you got, there are changes, and you got to understand these.
There are changes. You have to understand them. Over the long term, I think that this will feel simpler than previous decisions, but in the short term, this feels more complicated. So there's some growing pains here for borrowers. So the biggest thing is that the reduction in the number of payment plan options based on your income, there will only be 2 in the future. And there in the past have been some variation of 4 different repayment plan options based on your income, which I think is a win. The borrowers get overwhelmed with, I don't know which one to pick. Help me decide which one to pick. And now in the future, there will just be 2 repayment options based on your income.
Yeah. The way I thought it's just 10 and 25, right? To some degree. Aren't those the payback periods or not? Am I just making things up?
You're talking about the difference between standard repayment and income-driven repayment. I'm talking specifically about income-driven repayment. And so income-driven repayment, there will be 2 plans. One is called the repayment assistance plan, and then the other one will be a revised version of an income-based plan that we've seen for some time now. And there are some benefits and there are some criticisms of the new plan. I would say the biggest benefit of the new plan is that if you're married, you can file your taxes separately to exclude your spouse's income. But some criticisms are that it will take longer to reach forgiveness. And no matter your income, there is a minimum monthly payment of $10, regardless of your household size and income.
Dame, PSLF still exists in the last 40 seconds of this segment. Public service loan forgiveness, it still exists. It's just different now.
Yeah, it still exists. The payment plans that will qualify will obviously change going forward once we whittle that down to the RAP plan or IBR. And then there could be some tighter definitions on who qualifies or what positions, or employers, I should say. Employers qualify as a qualifying employer.
All right. I think we pretty comprehensive there. I mean, it's a lot to take in. At least we had the personal finance implications of the OBBB. Coming up after the break, biggest waste of money of the week and the news right here on the Pete the Planner Show. I'm Pete the Planner. I'll be honest. I'm really glad we didn't go through the rest of the bill.
Yeah.
If you think about all of, I'm using podcasts as a placeholder here. If you think about all the podcasts out there, or just call them experts, whatever, because everyone who has a podcast is an expert, clearly.
Indeed, yes.
You think of all the categories that can be discussed of this OBBB. I'm the most thankful that our podcast and expertise is in this area and not the other ones that deserve scrutiny.
That's fair.
Others feel the same. Others feel like I would never want to talk about personal finance applications.
That's totally fair. I think, and I don't know. It's some of the other things just feel, and maybe they are, or they aren't, but they just feel a lot higher stakes and more emotionally charged. And it's so much easier to present on just the words that we're reading in the areas where we are the experts.
Yeah. And if you, dear listener, think that this is the last time we're going to talk about the OBBBA, I'm sorry. This is going to be a topic that we're going to have come into conversations, at least tangentially, for quite a while. I mean, as I told Kristen this morning, Mrs. Advice is a CPA, and she's got 3 separate trainings this next week on how this actually works in practice, how these tax law changes work in practice. I've got one in 2 weeks. And so we're going to actually figure out what this means for the average person, and then we'll be able to come back and tell you a little bit more directly about how this is going to impact you. So we're not done with it, but we want to try and keep it on the straight and narrow and just really dive into what it means for you financially.
Dame, do you have any market stories in the news this week or no?
I mean, I have like the one on NVIDIA becoming the top.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, something like that.
Can you hit it? Because I have some thoughts. I just want to.
You want me to do that one for you on the top?
Sure.
Okay.
Give me a little room on that. So, all right. That's show prep. Let's do the bomb. Jason says he feels like we really dislike the name acronym. It's not any more ridiculous than other bills like the Patriot Act. Well,
I don't disagree.
I don't disagree. I just think, I think for me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're right. And they're all dumb names.
Agree.
It's like a race to the dumb of like, let's have the acronyms spell something, a word, you know?
How many bills, future bills, do you think are going to be named by GPT?
All of them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, are they any dumber than pharmaceutical names?
No, those are just Scrabble tiles.
God, I'll tell you, Skyrizi's still the best medicine. The best name. I don't even know what it treats, but I'll tell you, this is the best name ever. Skyrizi. We should get them as a sponsor, but I don't know what it treats.
Doesn't matter.
I feel like that could be dangerous.
No one knows. 3, 2, 1. This week's biggest waste of money of the week right here on the Pete the Planner Show is... I just took all my friends off the screen. It is the Throne Toilet Health Tracker. Gut health is very important to overall health. Yet unlike activity, heart rate, temperature, or even oxygen levels, it can be hard to keep tabs on what's going on down there. The aptly named Throne clips to a toilet using a camera and AI smarts to provide an overview of gut health. It uses the Bristol stool scale to categorize stool, while also keeping track of changes in urine color to track hydration. It installs easily, syncs wirelessly with a companion app, so there's no need to touch anything, and it's available for pre-order now, and shipments begin in January of 2026.
That was shipments, right?
Shipments.
Okay.
In not the number 1 month of the year, or it is in number 1 month of next year, not number 2. What do you guys think the Throne Toilet Health Tracker costs? Kristen?
I don't even want to begin to entertain this
No,
any longer.
it's your job. You do your job.
This thing, I'm thinking about other like tracking devices. This thing is $450.
Okay, Dame.
Here's what's on everybody's mind. Is there a monthly subscription to go along with
That's
this?
True.
God, that's an amazing question. I mean, if you're subscribing to your stool, that is a tough bag of stuff to handle.
I will say, I mean, it's a medical device, right? I mean, that's kind of what we have to. There's a premium on this stuff.
There's definitely a monthly subscription, by the
It
way.
has to be.
I will. Kristen, what'd you say?
450.
450.
I think.
I'm going to say the hardware is what gets you into the door, and you pay for the subscription. So I'm going to say it's $250.
It is $400 and a $5.99 monthly subscription.
Oh, that seems affordable.
Here's where I get stuck on this, but besides every element of it. But I love data. You guys know me.
True.
My Whoop strap is I spend an hour a day on my Whoop app, and I wish I were lying. There's a camera, and that is concerning. There is a camera, and that is probably. We should move on.
Yeah, there's jokes that we can't make, and we can.
Dame, what's in the news this week?
Move over, Microsoft. NVIDIA is now the world's most valuable company. The chip maker just crossed a jaw-dropping $4 trillion in market value thanks to surging demand for its AI-powered chips. Shares have skyrocketed from $14 to over $160 in this many months, Pete. This many months. 14 to 160.
24 months?
Kristen?
I know the answer.
18 months. 18 months.
It's up. It's essentially doubled since April 3rd or something.
Yeah, it's nuts. Absolutely nuts.
By the way, I am long NVIDIA as a disclosure here. I'm long NVIDIA.
Not investment advice.
Not investment advice, but I just don't like to, I texted you guys last night, mid-afternoon, and it said something to the effect of, choose different words. Man, the market doesn't care about any of this tariff nonsense right now, any of these letters. And I heard a perspective this morning that I haven't decided whether I subscribe to this idea that this is just an extended version of the taco trade, which is another cute acronym for what people have named Trump always chickens out, that all of these threats aren't going to matter. And then the economy is just going to keep on doing what it's doing. And I kind of buy that, but the Canadian tariff talk did send the market tumbling today. So what do you guys make of the fact that the market is up 29% at market open today from its low in April? What do you make of that?
What's it up for the year?
It's up 11 or 12% for the year, something like that.
I just feel, we talked about this a few weeks ago. I just feel like I don't know anything. We were talking about how I text my sister and said, hold on to your 401ks after some really major news dropped. And then Monday, the market was like, don't care. And I said, oh, I thought that was supposed to be like a given. I feel like I don't know anything.
Yeah, here's what's wild, Dame. On the heels of this, Bitcoin has gone bananas, and crypto has gone bananas this last week. On Friday, June 27th, okay, get yourself back there.
Okay.
This is the day before I leave for vacation. A financial industry friend of mine, I've known forever, sends me a random text out of nowhere. I had not talked to this person since March. And it simply says, how much Bitcoin do you have? It's like, okay. So I answered the question, which is not a lot. And he said, next text, everything is going to zero versus Bitcoin over time. And I was like, okay, I don't even know what that means. But this person 2 weeks ago sends me a text that says Bitcoin's about to go bananas. What has happened in the last 2 weeks? Bitcoin has gone bananas. And I'm like, how do these things happen? Kristen, do you buy, is this moogly googly? Like, what's happening here?
Sounds like your friends in Congress.
That's funny. I would never be friends with those. No, I'm just kidding. Dame, do you make anything of that?
I mean, how many times have we all heard Bitcoin's about to go bananas? Bitcoin's about to go bananas. It has a track record of absolutely going berserk and then coming back down. So I don't When somebody says it, I don't think twice about it.
You know what's oversharing? What's dumb about all of this to me? Post-election. Okay, so this is our November episode, early November episode. President Trump got elected as the next president. I remember the discussion on this show and then off this show of, I think Bitcoin is going like 3 to 5x based on that governments and states and everywhere are going to have crypto stockpiles as part of their reserves. Like this was an idea that was like commonly talked about then. Then you get to January and then you get to April and all of the news is off everything like that. And it's more about tariffs and trade and OBBB and it's all these things. And then so out of the blue, it just felt like to me this week that there was a massive inflow institutionally into ETFs that support crypto. It's just strange to me.
Yeah.
No conspiracy. What I'm saying to everyone here, I'm dumb. That's what I'm saying to you. Stop listening. I'm an idiot. These two people aren't.
Thanks to our new sponsors.
But go to Herculean Meal Prep. I know. We're on the radio. Don't do that. Well, you do it. Anyway, hey, Dane, what else is in the news?
This week's second biggest waste of the money of the week is...
Oh.
The amount a private collector paid for Jane Birkin's original prototype of the iconic Hermes bag at Sotheby's, Paris. Kristen, did you guys see both of you seen it already?
Yeah,
indeed.
I thought about this. I was like, what type of person would buy that?
I don't know. $10.1 million.
You're not using it. You're not putting in like Gushers or your kids' snacks into that purse.
Yes.
Lipstick to melt.
Does Mrs. Advice, does she have purse snacks?
I think she has a separate bag for snacks usually.
Oh yeah, Mrs. Planner's got purse snacks, but I'm never privy to them. They're always like, and the kids know what it is and how to get them, and I just don't. Kristen, that's something you're gonna have to learn about here and your newfound motherhood. All right, everybody, that's all that time. That's all for this week's show. So therefore, I'm sending you good vibes because good vibes are all that's in the budget. I'm Pete the Planner, and this is the Pete the Planner show. Okay.
Didn't Jane Birkin hate the Birkin bag?
You're asking the absolute.
I think that's the irony is like she didn't even like it.
Can I ask you guys a cultural question that I think Kristen might actually know something about this time?
Yeah.
Based on age. And man, your eye rolls today.
If your child inherits that trait, you're in serious trouble.
Okay.
Oh, I'm in so much trouble.
Here's the question.
Okay.
And Dan, this question is not even for you.
Okay.
Kristen, are you a Love Island watcher?
Oh, I am not.
But culturally, do you understand it? Do you kind of get a sense of what's happening?
I do actually. At my nail appointment last weekend, my nail lady explained the show to me. So now I am in the know.
My 16-year-old daughter explained the show to me the other day. I feel culturally irrelevant a lot of times. Dame, there's such a massive movement of people who like and follow this show. There are watch parties at bars all over the country. Can I assume, like me, you know next to nothing about it?
It just sounds like an STD swap meet to me.
Boy, oh boy. We're doing that.
Sorry.
I feel he's been sitting on that joke because it was well constructed.
No.
Okay, that's all we got. Kristen, may wild donkeys cross your path, and Damian, may the hair on your head, I don't know, stay getting money.